This program was first broadcast on Canterbury's access media station, Plains FM, and was made with the assistance of New Zealand On Air.
Hello everybody, and welcome to God is Not Absent, a podcast in which we share stories of faith in the lives of New Zealanders today. This podcast is hosted by me, Apurva Patel-Kana, a young woman who has embarked on her own journey with God and is incredibly curious to know if God really is as dead or absent as many Westerners seem to think. I'm hoping that through this podcast we'll see how vibrant and how real God really is. Because if God really is not absent, well then, that changes everything. Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of God is Not Absent. This week we have Ellie Whitaker joining us. Welcome, Ellie. How are you going?
I'm going good. Thank you for having me here.
No worries. I'm excited to have you here. Ellie, so we met at the Pro-Life Club a couple or maybe few years ago. It's been a long time.
Best club ever.
Best club ever. And yeah, I think one of the first things I noticed about you was your smile. I think you just have this radiant joy in you. And it was so cool to hear about your faith and your beliefs and stuff. And just, seeing you occasionally over the years, it's been really cool to see your journey. And actually the last time we talked and stuff, I think I was really inspired by your story, and I wanted to have you come on. I'm truly very excited to have you on here. Do you want to start off by telling us a bit about yourself?
Sure. So I am the ripe old age of 23, and I grew up in the beautiful Kapiti coast where they make Kapiti ice cream. And I have 6 siblings, so it's a good time. And starting to get lots of nieces and nephews. And this year I'm just kind of doing an eclectic bunch of random jobs that I've got in. Just sort of working.
Awesome. And what have you studied at university and stuff? Because I know that's how we've met, right?
Yeah. So for the last 3 years, I've been studying a Bachelor of Speech and Language Therapy. So I still have one more year to go, but that is currently all on hold because, the uni told me I'm not allowed to complete it without the COVID-19 vaccinations, which I don't have. So, life is a bit of a question mark right now.
Yeah. So I guess we'll just jump right into it. Ellie, how did you get introduced to an idea of God?
Yeah, so I probably started in the womb before I was born because, my mum and dad are really strong Christians and a lot of my siblings and extended family. So, growing up, God was just a part of, life.
Are you the youngest or?
Not quite. I was for 8 years and then got some more sisters.
Okay.
It was just part of life, church and saying grace. And I've got quite a distinct memory of when I was quite young, my older sister being like, oh, you need to sweep the stairs, which at the time was my most hated chore for whatever reason. And I had this great plan where I ran off and got my Bible, and she came to find me, and I was like, I can't sweep stairs. I'm reading my Bible.
Oh my god! What a power move!
My understanding of God has improved a little bit since then.
So I think just that preface is so cool because it's like people were praying over you while you're in the womb, and they were praying for your faith and stuff. So when do you think, obviously you learnt about God just growing up, it was a part of your life, but when do you think your faith became your own?
I think, I'm not sure of the exact age, but I feel like it was probably when I was about 10, I heard some really good speakers just talking about how, no, this is a personal, decision and a commitment you have to make, this isn't just a vague lifestyle, Yes, it was really once I'd made that, I can just remember we were driving, I was in the back seat of the car and, just, praying and making that commitment.
Why the backseat of a car?
We were driving home. We'd been at like this cool like camp with like really good speakers and stuff, and they'd done an altar call, and like I hadn't gone out because I was like,
Yeah.
But then like the next
Altar
day, I
calls
was like,
are so scary.
yeah. And the next day, I was like, oh my gosh, no, I need to do this. So yeah, in the car driving home, and yeah.
Wow.
And then sort of from that, that's probably when I started doing like a daily Bible reading, and that just like really helped. Cement my faith.
So with your Bible reading and stuff, what was it about reading the Bible that you think cemented your faith?
I think just like, I feel like we all want a shortcut to like growing our relationship with God. Like we all want it to just be like one easy, like simple thing we can do or say. But it does just boil down to that, like, you just have to spend time with someone to like, get to know them and like build that relationship with them. And there's just something about doing it every day that just like redirects your mind back on track. And there's something about like, there's so many times when like you very rarely feel like reading your Bible, but it's once you start reading it, your feelings change because of, the power of the word.
So true. So at the start, did you not really feel like reading the Bible, but it was
no,
more of a
not at all.
thing?
Yeah, I really struggled having that like daily Bible reading. But there were things I read that just really helped me. Like, for example, like we'd never dream of just like skipping like physical meals. And yet we do that we'll go days without having like a spiritual meal. So that like analogy really helped me. Like
that's deep. That's really good. So do you think your feelings started changing as, like, when did that happen? Your feelings started changing as you read the Bible?
I think it was very gradual, and I think still, like, there's still days I wake up from, like, I don't want to wake up and read the Bible. I just want to sleep for another hour. But no, I never, like, you never regret it. Once you do get up, you're like,
so true.
This is why God tells us to read His Word.
Yeah.
So good.
I once heard of this quote. I will not be able to quote it exactly, but it was pretty much talking about how even when you feel like the Bible isn't really doing anything, you kind of just read it and it hasn't done anything. Like there's still, like God is still doing something in the background in your heart, even if you can't quite feel it, and you'll figure it out like, months or maybe even years to come. That
true.
It's like actually doing something in your life. So I guess I wanted to talk to you or ask you about what was life like for you as a teenager, because I know you as adult Ellie, and I was just really curious to know what were you like as a teenager? What were your dreams, your struggles, your insecurities, your ambitions? What was your life like?
Overall, like, it was pretty cool, Like, I was homeschooled, so, like, really enjoyed that. Probably a bit of a nerd. I love reading, like, anything to do with history and, like, trivial facts and board games and, like, right up my alley. We always had, like, heaps of pets running around the house. And, I think, Mum and Dad both have a real love of learning. So I think that was really cool, and just like they had a massive like bookshelf, and so I spent lots of time just like reading, which I look back on now and I'm like, oh my gosh, it was like so helpful for just helping form my worldviews. And ambitions wise, probably not anything. Like, I'm not a particularly ambitious person. It was when I was a teenager that I got really was really convicted about the topic of abortion, and so started getting really involved in the pro-life movement. And through that got to meet heaps of cool people. Probably struggles-wise, like, it's amazing growing up in a big family, but it also means that, like, with that many people, there's just, like, always drama going on. And just all these things, you're like, oh my gosh, there's just, like, always stuff happening. And when you're close to your siblings, it's like, their joy is your joy, but also their grief is your grief too. That can always be a bit of a roller coaster.
And where do you think you saw God in all of these aspects of your life?
I think it was definitely, I don't know, I feel like he was definitely training me, just giving me that space just to, like, learn and read and think things through just in my own time. And, yeah, just surrounding me with people I could, talk to about, my thoughts. And, yeah, so I think that was really valuable. And I think really teaching me that principle of, like, probably sounds really obvious, but just that, like, no matter what happens, and, like, how dramatic or terrible you think an event is, like, life goes on.
Yeah.
Which, is something that's been, really helpful in the last few years. Yeah, and just, I guess, really showing me that, like, there's so many times, like, you can't control what other people do and the events that happen. Like, you can literally just control, your response to things and just, like, the little things you can do. Like, sometimes I'm like, wow, literally the only thing I can do right now to help the people I love is make a pot of pumpkin soup or, like, vacuum the house or whatever. Yeah, and that's something that's helped me now as an adult. There are so many times where I'm like, I don't know what to do, but it's like, I just find, like, there's always some small thing that you can, like, do. Yeah.
So coming to university, especially being homeschooled and stuff, I feel like, I don't know, I went to a public school my whole life, and to me, university was quite daunting because so many people. So I can't imagine what it was like for someone that was homeschooled. That's just the mindset I have. But yeah, what was that transition like for you? And to me, being in university, that was probably the time, and it is still the time when I think my relationship with God has kind of accelerated and skyrocketed. And I was just wondering, like, was that the same experience for you being in university?
Yeah, I totally agree that, my faith just had, like, a rocket put under it.
Wow, yeah.
In terms of transitioning, like, academically, I was a bit worried just because, like, when you're homeschooled, like, you don't have that constant comparison with other people, which in some ways is great. But then in some ways it's hard because you're like, oh my goodness, like, am I actually really dumb? Like, you don't kind of know where you stand. But no, I totally found that, I feel like homeschooling actually prepared me really well for uni because you just, from a very young age, have a lot of control over your learning. You learn to be quite self-motivated and self-disciplined and to just, like, be setting your own goals and stuff without someone, like, over your shoulder. So, I felt like that prepared me really well. And, especially for, like, all the, like, online learning and stuff in lockdown. I was just like, sweet uni schooling. So, academically it was all good. Definitely, like, socially and emotionally it was pretty hard.
Especially moving.
Especially because, like, I just, like, grown up in the same place all my life. So it was, like, my first time, like, moving house. And I just, like, I literally had, like, 2 family friends that I knew in Christchurch, but other than that, like, knew, like, no one, didn't have, like, any family or, like, So it was, that first year was just, like, super lonely, and, like, the flat I was in, didn't have great community. Like, I just didn't really see my flatmates. So, that was really difficult. Like, if I didn't ring home, I could just, like, go all day without talking to someone. So, that was pretty tricky. But in some ways, I guess in some ways it was a good thing because naturally I'm a bit of an introvert, but that kind of forced me to be like, okay, I've got to meet people. So, meant I got really involved with, like, church and clubs. I was just like, okay, everything I can go to, I'm going to go to.
What church do you go to?
I go to Campus Church.
Oh, of course.
Yes, meets on campus if anyone wants to come along.
Cool. Sorry, keep going.
But I definitely feel like it really grew my faith. Because I was, able to really easily get access to a lot of good teaching and things, but also just because I didn't have, like, physical people I could go to, like, for comfort. I, like, had to go to God, for comfort. I was really drawn to spend more time with him. And I think the biggest thing was just learning to appreciate the character of God as our rock. Like, I remember, like, reading as a younger person, like, like, oh yeah, God is your father, and, high priest, and, all these great attributes. And then it's like, and God is your rock. And you're like, okay, cool. But I just learned how amazingly valuable that is. Just, like, when everything in your life has changed, or, the people in it and your environment, just, it's so wonderful. Just, like, you can open the Bible and it's the same words and the same promises and the same God. and just like that foundation, and it's just like, so yeah, I've really come to treasure that.
So good, yeah. Speaking of change and uncontrollable circumstances, so COVID was pretty hard for a lot of people in New Zealand to deal with, but I reckon some of the group of people that was probably hardest for was the unvaccinated. A lot of people might say it was kind of their fault that it was hard on them because they chose that life. But yeah, we've had a couple of unvaccinated people come on the show and stuff, and there are a lot of people that I realise just haven't actually met or personally know anyone that's unvaccinated, and so I guess it's quite easy to dehumanize that group, I'd say.
Totally.
And so I guess I just wanted to know, like, what was it like for you to be part of that group of people?
Yeah, it's definitely been an interesting time, eh? I think in some ways my, life up till this point, was quite good preparation. For example, like when you're involved in the pro-life movement, like everyone thinks you're an idiot and you're anti-science and they're like, oh my gosh, why do you believe that? So I guess in some ways it was quite good preparation because like it got to people like, oh my gosh, you're an anti-vaxxer, you're so like anti-science and why do you believe that and you're so stupid, and so it's kind of like, oh yeah, I've heard all this before. So I think probably the hardest thing was it was definitely really sad watching churches like close their doors to people. That was just like, oh no, this is like, the opposite of the Christian message. So that was challenging. And definitely, I feel like it was hard because so many vaccinated people, they didn't really grasp like actually how much was, banned for unvaccinated people. And just how frustrating it was. Like, I couldn't even sit my full license, I couldn't go to uni, couldn't go to the library and get out books. Like, so that was, frustrating. But on the upside, I got to meet some cool people and,
Oh my gosh.
I can go to the library now, so that's good.
Yeah. I just think it's incredible that I feel like you just have a very strong sense of self to be able to just go against the currents of society like that. And I just think it's so inspiring. It's very cool that, I mean, that's probably, I'm probably not anti-vax or anything, and I don't really care about the debate. But I just think whether you're right or wrong doesn't matter. But the fact that you believed it in your heart and you're able to follow that, I just think that's very inspiring. Yes. Very cool. So you mentioned before that, you couldn't go to university because of the vaccine mandate. Can you tell us what that was like?
Yeah, so it's, definitely, that was pretty bad. So with speech-language therapy, it's considered like a healthcare area. And as part of our degree, we do a lot of like practical work in like schools and hospitals. And so when the mandates came in, I got called in by like my uni coordinator and was like, there is no way you can complete the final year of your course unless if you get, the COVID-19 vaccine, which was pretty devastating because I'd been like, surely there'll be some way around this, it's only like 1 year, surely. And I'd come up with like all these like options, like, what about if I did this or this? And they were just like, no, you can't complete this degree. I just remember, the day I had that meeting with my supervisor, just like stumbling into the library and like the university library and like renting out like one of the study rooms and just like shutting the door and just like crying solidly for like an hour. Just being like, oh my gosh, like, God, what am I going to do?
Oh, no.
So now I finished, I was like, okay, got all the crying out of my system, we're good. Better ring home and like update them because, they're waiting to hear from me. And then just like picked up the phone and then just like burst into tears again. Those first few months, it was, just a lot of, I guess just so much confusion. Like, God, I thought this is what you wanted me to be doing. And just a lot of frustration and anger. And, there was even probably, a bit of bitterness, which I found I haven't experienced this emotion before God. Like, I don't know how to process it. So yeah, that was pretty tricky.
And yeah, like, where do you think you saw God in all of this?
I think I've definitely really seen so many examples of like his physical provision. So like, for example, you know, when it was like, okay, I can't go back to uni this year, I need a job. But that in itself was just like a nightmare because so many jobs were, you know, you couldn't do if you were unvaccinated or your usual entry-level ones that you'd do, like hospitality and stuff. I wasn't allowed to. I couldn't get my full license, so that, again, knocks off a lot of jobs. And then, yeah, just like I wasn't, like, physically strong, so I can't do, you know, jobs like that. So, yeah, I was just, like, searching and, like, applied for, like, so many jobs. It was just, like, endlessly getting rejected. I was just, like, so down. And then, yeah, last, like, the 21st job I applied for, just, like, randomly, you know, got accepted. And, yeah, just along the way, God's just led me to, like, all these other, like, odd jobs and people who've been, you know, happy having someone unvaccinated. And just providing me cool opportunities that I guess I wouldn't have done otherwise.
Like what?
So I get to volunteer at a pregnancy centre, which is pretty fun. Just like, they have like a wee op shop that like, you know, helps fund what they do. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, gotten to meet like really neat people there. And yeah, I think it's really, I don't know, I think I probably didn't have a great study-life balance. So I think this year's been really cool in that I've had more time just to like build friendships with people and like just sit and like have yarns with my flatmates. So yeah, those sort of opportunities have been pretty cool. But yeah, just seeing God's physical provision of like jobs and just things to be involved in, and yeah, just kind of forcing me, because I guess it's like in my head I was like, trust in God, like he's in control, but then it's not until you're like, oh wow, like literally I have no control, God. Like
so true.
Yeah,
so
I
true.
guess it's this year has really like forced me to like physically like, God, I really need your help here.
So where do you see God leading you now?
So great question. I have been asking him that a lot. Can I just have like a clue? I'm not sure, big picture wise, if I'll be able to go back to uni and complete my degree, or maybe try and tie in those papers to another degree, or if I'll just keep working, or that's all up in the air. I think definitely spiritually he's highlighted like so many areas to work on that I didn't realise needed working on. I think the biggest one has just been actually like my identity. Like I didn't realise how much I was starting to find that in what I did. Like I remember my first year at uni, our pastor gave this great talk on being like, you know, a Christian and a uni student and the importance of finding your identity in Christ and not in your studies. And, you know, arrogantly in my head, I was like, it doesn't apply to me. Like I totally find my identity in Christ. I guess this year has just really shown me like, oh my gosh, I was totally starting to find it in like, I'm a speech language therapy student, you know. And yeah, I guess just pride is just so insidious and just, you know, creeps in. You don't even realise it.
So true, true.
I guess just highlighting that of what's becoming, I guess, almost a bit hypocritical in that I had all this, like, knowledge of, you know, like, God is in control and, like, I trust him and da-da-da-da-da, I find my identity in him, but that wasn't actually filtering through to my everyday emotions and actions and words, so... Yeah.
That is the Christian life. It's so hard. It's so hard, yeah. Well, just thank you so much, Ellie, for what you shared with us and just how raw and honest you were with us. I think it's so important for people to hear that, you know, the Christian life, it's not a perfect one. No, like, and... I think it's really cool what you said about, you know, trying to process emotions that you've never felt before, like bitterness, like, you know, and, you know, trying to figure out who God is in a place that you've never been before, in a situation that you've never been before. And it's so cool to see how God showed up in that and how, you were open to look for God in that. I think that's really inspiring. But yeah, as we come to the end of this episode, would you like to pick a song and tell us why you chose the song to finish the episode?
Yes, so I found this part really hard. I was like, oh, there's so many good songs that I love. But yeah, the one I've chosen is just one of my absolute favourites that I listen to all the time, and it just, really helps me, just reorient my thoughts and remind me who's in control. It's probably not really a traditional worship song, but I use it to worship God because it really tells of just like our just human patheticness really and weakness and how controlled we are by our emotions, but how like in spite of all that, God is just so good and so in control, and he can help us through that.
That's so good. Human patheticness. I love that. Great note to finish on. Thank you so much, Ellie, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And for the rest of you guys, we hope that you enjoyed this episode and that you'll enjoy the song.
When I am shaking and my heart's pounding, you always take me, make me lie down in peaceful fields where I can clear my head. 'Cause I get so overcome with anxiety, like there's an enemy living inside of me, like a mocker yelling out, telling lies to me. And I don't feel brave, but I don't have to be, 'cause I walk through the valley of shadows, and it scared me half to death. But you're with me everywhere I go, so I don't give up yet. My fear would surely kill me if I didn't know the truth. The things that I'm afraid of are afraid of you. When my emotions turn against me, not faith nor reason could convince me that you have patience left to fight for me. When my depression is affecting every ounce of me, I can get the medication and the counseling, still I can hear the fear calling out to me. And I don't feel brave, but I don't have to be, 'cause I walk through the valley of shadows, and it scared me half to death. But you're with me everywhere I go, so I don't give up yet. My fear would surely kill me if I didn't know the truth. The things that I'm afraid of are afraid of you. You prepared a table for me right in front of my worst enemies. You're as calm and relaxed as can be. There's no place where the demons won't find me, but just wait till they see who's standing behind me. I walk through the valley of shadows, and it scared me half to death. But you're with me everywhere I go, so I don't give up yet. My fear would surely kill me if I didn't know the truth. The things that I'm afraid of are afraid of you. Oh, I walk through the valley of shadows, it scared me half to death. But you're with me everywhere I go, so I won't give up yet. My fears would surely kill me if I didn't know the truth. The things that I'm afraid of are afraid of you. The things that I'm afraid of are afraid of you.
Thank you for listening. Tune into our episodes every other Sunday at 12:30 p.m. on Plains FM 96.9. Otherwise, catch us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Remember to stay in touch on our Facebook page at God Is Not Absent. See you guys later in our next episode.